Welcome to Khanversations. I'm Muqtedar Khan, your host, and today I have with me Professor Saeed Sadiq from Cairo in Egypt. He's a very old friend. Saeed and I have been friends since 2008, Saeed, if you remember. It's been a long time and has been a fruitful friendship. We have done projects all over the world. We've been together in Turkey, we've been to Morocco, Egypt, obviously, and in the United States. Saeed is a professor of political sociology and a public intellectual based in Cairo. He is often on television. He writes a lot of articles on politics and the intersection of politics and sociology. Today he's going to talk about the situation in Gaza, Donald Trump's foreign policy towards the Middle East, and issues surrounding that. So welcome to Khanversations, Saeed.
You're welcome, my dear, many times.
So this is a very, the moment talking to you at a moment, there's like the issues are like piling over. Donald Trump has decided to take over Gaza. And when he talks about Gaza, he talks about it. He says, I will own Gaza. He doesn't even say that the US will own Gaza. He makes it sound as if it's going to become his personal property. He's talking about ethnic cleansing, of moving Gazans out of Gaza and pushing them into Egypt and Jordan. Every day there is something new. And yesterday he basically violated the agreement of the ceasefire by saying that the Palestinian that Hamas should release all hostages by Saturday. And if they don't, then the ceasefire is over. Even though the ceasefire itself, that his own guy Steve Witkoff had negotiated. He had negotiated this, that Hamas releases, then Israel releases, and so on and so forth. So this staggered release of hostages was something that his own man had negotiated. So Trump is not even sticking to his word, as well as he's coming up with new ideas every day. So sitting in Cairo and looking at what's happening in the Middle East and what Donald Trump is doing, threatening aid. Luckily, Egypt and Jordan have been spared at the moment. How do you react to all of this, Saeed?
As you know, when during the Biden administration, there was a big disappointment because there was genocide going on and people felt helpless and didn't know what to do. And so there was this hope that if President Trump comes to office, he will be different and he would push for the two-state solution or something like that, or even an economic model that would resolve the problem. But we were shocked about his idea. It's not his idea, really. I mean, we have heard this idea before many times. In 2008, some Israeli and American intellectuals raised the idea about moving the Gazans into Sinai. Mubarak at the time responded strongly, and everybody was answering back and retorting, and the idea died. It came back again in 2016 when after President Trump was elected the first time, and then he raised this idea during his term, but it was at the time an economic project in North Sinai and Gaza, integrated, industrial project plus tourism, in which North Sinai residents and Gazans would work together. Fine, if this is an economic project, but at that time also there was suspicion and nobody wanted to accept that because they felt it would bring the Palestinian problem into Egypt rather than get the two-state solution, which everybody had agreed upon in Oslo and other. Now, President Trump began to raise this issue when he met the Prime Minister Netanyahu, who is facing, court order from the International Criminal Court, and they decided
he could not fly back. When he flew back, he couldn't fly over Canada because of the court order. Yeah.
It was very strange that he raises this idea, and this time it is different. He infringes on the sovereignty of two states, Jordan and Egypt, and without understanding the challenges that those countries would face if they really adopted. Jordan would disappear to be Jordan, and even the Palestinian state would disappear to be a Palestinian state because the monarchy will be ended and it will be a big disaster for Jordan. For Egypt, we had several reasons why we could not take the Gaza, mostly are security issues. First of all, the Gazan community, Gazan society is, well rooted into militant ideology. They are well trained in guerrilla warfare, and if you bring them to Egypt, and even not necessarily in Sinai, but even deploying them all over the country, they will be mixing with the sleeper cells and others who may be interested to learn their techniques. And so that would bring a problem for Egypt national security. The second reason is that many Gazans had lost family members or relatives, and they have the desire to take revenge. You bring them to Egypt, they may target Israeli or American tourists in hotels, in resorts in the area. So I cannot afford this. And even if this doesn't happen, and they try to infiltrate back into Gaza and attack Israeli settlements, this can bring Egypt and Israel into conflict and trouble. So we cannot have this too. Uh, Moreover, if Gaza is liquidated and Israeli take over, Egypt and Israel for the first time will have direct borders instead of a buffer zone. The Gaza used to be a buffer zone between Egypt
No,
and
but
Israel.
Gaza would be Trump zone, so it will still be a buffer.
Of course, yeah. In that sense, that would be better.
It'll be Trump land, Trump land.
Of course.
I mean, it is.
But
We are living in a twilight zone, Said, even to be talking about this seriously, right? It sounds so bizarre. How is he going to move to 2 million people out? And is American troops going to go there, drag them from their homes? And Hamas is not dead. They will have to start fighting again with the American soldiers. I mean, it sounds so bizarre. And imagine, let's say that Egypt took 1.5 million and Jordan takes 500,000 of these Gazans. Those Hamas people there will start shooting rockets at Israel from Jordan. And then what? Israel will then start bombarding Jordan and destroy Jordan like it destroyed Gaza. Why does, I don't understand why Donald Trump and his people don't understand that even if you relocated the Gazans, their desire for a Palestinian homeland is not going to go away. Palestinians all over the world are like that. Do you see, I mean, the meeting with King Abdullah was, Abdullah just came out and said that he wants to take 2,000 children from Gaza who are ill and who have cancer. How will we know that they have cancer? Who's going to diagnose them? And even if he takes 2,000 families, it's like a little gift. Trump called it a beautiful, beautiful plan. But this all comes back to the two countries receiving US aid, right? Egypt getting $1.7 billion a year and Jordan getting $1.6 billion. These are the second and third biggest aid recipients from the US. And Trump thinks that if he threatens to cut off that aid, you will take these refugees. How long do you think that Egypt is going to remain dependent on US aid? It's been more than 50 years now.
well, it's not a big aid. It's important for the Egyptian military, but Egypt has other options. And it had been tried before. In 2013, Obama suspended the return of 10 Apache helicopters that were being repaired on Washington. The Pentagon objected and they returned back. And at that time, Egypt began to contact Russia and China to get replacement. And they did. Nowadays, I hear that Egypt was planning long ago joint maneuvers with the Chinese Navy. And now they asked for an accelerated process so that we do it earlier than planned as a message that we have other alternatives. Uh, Secondly, Egypt believes that they cannot commit suicide. Yes, we get aid. Yes, we have very strong strategic relations with America and Israel. We don't want war. We don't want any trouble. But at the same time, we don't want to commit suicide. This is political suicide if we take the Gazans. It would mean that there will be that Israel is exporting all the instability that they are having in their country to Egypt, and that Egypt would bear the responsibility for that, and they would have to deal with the links with the Islamists in Egypt. Many of them are sleeper cells and are now quiet. Maybe they will get excited. They can also divide public opinion, like what happened in Jordan 1970 or Lebanon 1975. Those who support the resistance and those who are against the resistance. Also, Egypt suspects the Trump plan because when he talks about a touristic site in Gaza, well, if you look at the South Mediterranean in general, it is full of touristic sites. It doesn't need any more sites. Morocco is touristic. You have also the same with Tunisia, Egypt, Lebanon. In the Red Sea, you have also the NEOM, the Saudi NEOM project. We have Hurghada. It's full of resort. So what is this new project will do and to compete with others? It is clear that this is something
the Trump
else.
family will own it. It will be Jared Kushner and Jared Kushner's father-in-law, who is now who's been nominated.
Who would go? Well, who would go there? I mean,
Really?
if you are a tourist, why do you go to Gaza for swimming and snorkeling, whereas you have others? It doesn't make sense. And now even Trump began to say that nobody, when the Palestinians leave, they will not be returning back.
Yeah,
So
I mean, the plan is ethnic cleansing. He just wants to take the land and get rid of the people. I don't know if how serious he really is. There are some people here in the U.S. who are saying that, look, he's taking an extreme position, but he will agree to. And some people are arguing that when on 27th, when the Arab Summit happens,
Egypt is not a member of the International Criminal Court, but it can be taken into the court because we will be accessory to a crime against humanity and a war crime by taking people who have been under occupation and forced to leave. This is in violation of the Fourth Geneva Convention for Human Rights, a lot of international agreements that you are violating.
But the argument is that when the Arabs have the Arab Summit, they can, if they come up with an alternative plan. So this is putting pressure on the Arabs to say, no, don't worry about Gaza. We will keep peace in Gaza. You know, the initial plan was that United Arab Emirates and other Arab countries will send forces on the ground to keep Hamas out of Gaza and govern Gaza. So if an alternative plan comes out, then Trump will say, okay, we will not take Gaza, let the Arabs handle it. So that is the smartest explanation of what Donald Trump is trying to do. But my question is, across the Arab world, after what has happened in Gaza for now 15 months, I'm amazed as to how that whatever Israel wants, it's getting away with it. And the Abrahamic Accords have stayed in. None of the countries have broken away. There's no diplomatic pressure, except for Saudi Arabia, which keeps saying no. And other than that, it doesn't do anything really. What has happened? I mean, what has happened to the Arab backbone, Saeed?
The Palestinian question was tied to two main ideologies, Arab nationalism and Islamic nationalism. Now, those two ideologies are in a state of decline. Nobody wants to hear about them. And that's why the interest in the Palestinian cause had receded. It is no longer as the same as in the past. And that's why nobody is showing the same interest that we have seen in 1948, 1967, 1973, 1982. The interest in the Palestinian question had also been superseded by other problems. I have 7 failed Arab states: Libya, Sudan, Somalia, Yemen, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon. Why should I care about the Palestinians and turn a blind eye to the other brothers? So the Arab world today is exhausted with so many problems everywhere. So nobody is wants to show the interest. The nation state today is busy with its own self. Every regime, every ruling elite, only interested in their own affairs, on their own issues. The Palestinian issue, they only pay lip service, but they will not commit themselves like in the past. I have 57 Muslim states, including 22 Arab states. Each one should bear the responsibility. Nobody is doing anything except rhetoric. Turkey is doing that. Even Iran used to do that. Nobody is doing anything except, trying to appear as a really pro-Palestinian. Opposition use the Palestinian question to attack the regimes and show that those regimes are traitors and selling out everything and they are not really serious. So the Palestinian question had been also used by regimes that they want to show that the Ba'ath in Iraq is better, closer to the Palestinian than the Syrian Ba'ath party. Gaddafi is more supporting the Palestinian than, I don't know, the Algerian or the Moroccan. There is this competition all the time between regimes who is more pro-Palestinians. But again, it is rhetoric. When it comes to the interest, they care only about the national interest.
Yeah, but Iran did exchange. I mean, Iran attacked Israel twice for the first time ever. And Iranian proxies, whether the Houthis or Hezbollahs, they have been crushed by and large by US and Israel. But Iran did engage, right? But the only time I think the Arabs got into the fight was against Iran, especially the Jordan Air Force.
Well, the Arabs also see that what Trump is doing is a new Middle East, a new map of the Middle East, in which there is the nuclear program of Iran is gone, and the Palestinian question is, pushed aside. And so this is the new Middle East. So in general, they are against that if they don't have to pay for that. But if it is going to involve them to be paying any price that may tax political prestige, dignity, image, they will be opposed to it. But they wouldn't mind. I mean, all of them are against Hamas because Hamas to them is a model of resistance they don't want because it would invigorate the opposition in the area. And so this group Hamas under siege since 2007, and they were able to make Israel not the James Bond of the area or Mission Impossible. It had been really exposed that they are so weak. Without American military assistance, could Israel have sustained this war for 15 months? They should have collapsed themselves. I mean, guerrilla warfare is the most difficult type of warfare, and they were able to do it. They hit Tel Aviv, they hit Haifa. Hezbollah was able to hit the bedroom of Netanyahu. This never happened before, and that shows you that the real military power that can hit Israel are the non-formal armies, not the regular armies, but the non-formal actors, the militias, the Houthiyun in Yemen, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Jihad, Islamic Jihad. These are the people who really can stand up because they have no restriction like countries that have state and armies and they have their own political calculation that fit a state. And so they are restrained.
So Egypt became member of BRICS, as you know, and Iran is also a member of BRICS. Saudi Arabia hasn't made up its mind. It has been invited. I mean, for some time, we were actually thinking that Saudi had joined until the last meeting in Kazan, where it became clear that the Saudis had not fully committed to BRICS. What is Egypt doing? Is Egypt struggling to get out of this dependency on the US? Or is there any other, I can't make sense of it. Like Sisi was invited as a chief guest to India, if you remember last year's January. So we thought that there was some development there, and probably that was the way India supported Egypt's membership in BRICS. But like, where is Egypt today? Is it part? I mean, is it part of the leadership of the non-aligned movement as it was in the past? I mean, it's not even the leader of the Arab world. Like, what has happened, and where is Egypt going?
I think since 1978, when President Sadat was here with Camp David, he began to change the policies of Nasser. He doesn't want to be a regional leader. He stopped this. He just found that it is too costly and we pay too much price for it. So the ruling elite ever since began to avoid becoming regional leaders. And that caused a vacuum. Other countries began to fill the gap. The Saudis began to fill the gap. The Emirates, Qatar. Today in the Arab world, the main media that everybody is watching are Gulf media, not Egyptian media. Not like in the 50s and the 60s, when even the voice of the Arabs radio from Cairo was the one that would make revolution and everybody was listening. We don't have that today. When it comes to BRICS, Egypt is looking for economic opportunities. They want to use any currency other than the dollar because they have a big economic problem. And so they are looking for any economic relations that would reduce their dependency on the US dollar. And they are doing that with many members and other even African countries. They are dealing with them with their own currency, like in Tunisia. They deal with the Tunisian dinar and the Egyptian pound instead of the euro or the dollar. And so this is what their main aim. I think with Trump now coming to power and even threatening countries that are member of the BRICS, they will keep a low profile. And I don't think there is any activity happening in the BRICS today, or even the coin that Putin suggested that there will be a currency for, is not in operation by anybody. I think they have to wait a little bit until after 4 years, and then we see what will happen.
This is my last question. If you watch the rise of MBS in Saudi Arabia and complete reversal of Saudi Arabia, and we don't even know what Saudi Arabia has become right now, other than to say it is whatever MBS says it is, And I gave a talk on philosophy. I was invited by the Saudis to give a talk on philosophy. At the last minute, I decided not to go and do it by Zoom. And so I was glad I didn't go, because I was looking at the room. The room was for about 1,000 people, about 200 people were there, and I felt very disappointed. I said, you guys are investing so much on philosophy and nobody's interested in philosophy. And I was told that it is because of the other Khan. Apparently a Bollywood Khan had come to Riyadh, Salman Khan. And so everybody in Riyadh was watching him dance. Who wants to listen to Muqtedar Khan talk about philosophy if they can watch Salman Khan dance, right? So this is Saudi Arabia has become with sports and racing cars, etc. So some people are trying to provide some philosophical depth to this by saying that there is a new nationalism afoot in the Arab world, which is decentering Islam. It's a nationalism without Islam. And that is what I think Saudi Arabia is pursuing, to create an idea of Saudi Arabia which does not hover around the fact that it is the heart of Islamic in terms of, because of Mecca and Medina. So how does this changes in Saudi Arabia, even though it has stood up quite firm at the moment for the Palestinian state, etc.? How does that impact places like Egypt and Lebanon, which are more progressive societies, right? And Iraq also, for a long time, Iraq, Egypt, Lebanon were quite progressive compared to the other Arab countries. So what kind of a cultural impact is the changes in Saudi Arabia having on places like Egypt?
Of course, people are watching what is happening in Saudi Arabia, and sometimes they criticize that Egypt is becoming too conservative compared to the Saudis. The Saudis are really opening up. And so you will find a lot of critique about Egyptian behavior. Recently, they had this call in Egypt that religion should become grade, not pass and fail like in the past, but with grades 15% if you're in high school. And there was an outrage, and everybody was saying that everybody in the world is talking about AI and development, and you want to talk back religion and even traditional Muqtedar. So there was this criticism. But I think this is done because of domestic situation. Sometimes they don't have a vision. I mean, the ruling elite in Egypt do not have a vision about the future. What is modern Egypt? What is a modern state? And so they always have this problem because they want to please the Salafis. They want to balance with Muslim Brotherhood. They also allow religious institutions like Al Azhar, play a big prominent role more than what the secularists and the modernists want. And so they have this problem. And they criticize why we are lagging behind compared to Riyadh. Riyadh is very now advanced. And the reason that the Saudi elite are making this modernization is a lot of reasons. One of them is that 60 to 70% of the youth in Saudi Arabia are educated in the West, and they were fed up when they returned back from London or Paris, and you find some girls saying that I used to drive cars in London and Los Angeles, but I come back to Riyadh and I'm not allowed. So in 2017, he allowed women to drive cars, and that is a big social change. He began to win the youth, the future of Saudi Arabia, and he uses them to balance with the princes, so that when the king officially dies and he becomes a new king, the princes will find it difficult to challenge him because he has also the people. This first time, the prince and the kings of Saudi Arabia do not care about the people. They care more about the security establishment and foreign support. Now this man feels strong enough. Saudi Arabia is the only country in the Middle East that has over $1 trillion GNP, and maybe Turkey too, but the rest do not have. And so they have a huge power. So of course there is competition and there is envy that the Saudis can do that, while the ruling elite in Egypt are still traditional and do not know what to do, how to modernize the country. So this is the trouble with that situation.
Saeed, it was wonderful talking to you as always. Your observations are very insightful and very thoughtful and often very candid. So on behalf of all the viewers at Khanversations, I want to thank you very much for joining Khanversations and sharing your views with us. And for people who have been watching Khanversations, thank you very much for watching Khanversations. And if you have not already become a member, do subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon, like this video, and don't forget to share it with others. The kind of perspectives we bring on Khanversations, you won't find them anywhere else. Thank you very much, Saeed.
You're welcome. Take care. Bye-bye.